Good morning. We're at Clandonald School. We're going to do a little tour so everyone can enjoy the school virtually, relive some old memories, and just see where we're at to commemorate this time in history.
In elementary school, this would be where the entryway was. All this part to the west didn't exist then. So it was like a two-room school here with grade 1 to 4 on one side, grade 5 to 8 on the other side. And after when they knocked this part down, we went to school at the convent for about a year and a half. I'd say we were in grade 6 or so. And then we came back, and this part of the school from here to the east was brand new. The high school that existed when this two-room school was here for elementary, the high school was from grade 9 to 12, and it burned down some years ago. What would that be?
2003, I think.
2002, May of 2002.
And it was the high school, so it was two-room as well, with a library and an office and stuff, I guess you'd say. And grade 9s were, well, yeah, grade 9 and 10 would have been on one, grade 9, 10, and 11, well, yeah, and then grade 11 and 12 on the other side. So, and we had a library that was about as big as your concession room there, with all our books in there and stuff, and yeah.
And you were just saying there was no gymnasium here?
The gymnasium wasn't built till 1960.
Okay. And there was a gymnasium in the old part?
There was a gymnasium in the basement, and they used it for basketball court. But you can imagine how high the ceiling was, eh? But it wasn't bad. Yeah. Narrow, and when once they had this part of the school, they still had that as a high school, but the gymnasium, once this other gym, the big gym was built, they used that as the lunchroom. The basement was the lunchroom then. And I was a town kid, and there was a lot of kids that came on the bus and ate in the lunchroom. And the odd time, if my parents were out of town or something, the teachers still would not let us town kids eat lunch in the lunchroom because they had enough kids to supervise. They didn't want us there, eh? So we had to still go home and eat our lunch or eat it wherever, eh? Yeah.
Darn.
So, yeah.
When I was in junior high here, yeah, we did. I think these ramps actually just were installed then, because that must have been the latest government thing. Like, somebody in a wheelchair might actually need access. I think we only ever used them to slide down, or we had big projectors that sometimes the projector would come in the classroom. So that's what the ramps were used for us. But
yeah, hub of gossip. That's what the stairs were for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Big hangout.
I remember learning that John had a girlfriend because I saw him sitting on these stairs holding hands with somebody. And we had just had a conversation about how that would be so weird. Why would you get a girlfriend before you have a driver's license?
Yeah, that conversation. I thought you were going to say,
oh, John and I just had a conversation on the stairs. We
birds and bees. I'm the girlfriend.
Oh my God.
She was super principal, I thought.
Yeah.
The sister was the principal?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
You always had a sister as a principal?
Yeah,
Okay.
not my sister. But
No, not your sister. A sister.
Oh, yeah.
we had a teacher that come from down east of Maine. The only one that was ever here when I was here. He was not my friend.
Okay.
And we got into,
I was in high school before there was teachers that weren't nuns.
Okay.
Yeah.
So grade 1 to 12, or 1 to 9, you had all nuns as teachers?
Yeah,
And they all lived here at the convent?
yeah. And after that,
Even through high school.
just, I guess they were short of people. But yeah, even through high school, there was maybe 2, they called them lay teachers. Anyone that isn't a
Yeah.
A sister.
sister or a priest or lay people, eh, so, yeah.
Mostly we only used this doorway when it was Christmas concert time. We'd be getting ready in the hallway and then go out to perform for our parents for the Christmas concert. I think it was more open when,
Yeah, we use it pretty regularly.
Yeah, we do too.
yeah. But it was like the door to the gym when you guys went to school here as well.
And then there's another one from on the other side there, eh?
Yes.
And this was our typing room. When I was in grade 10, this was our typing room.
Okay.
But we were separate from the boys. So there was a girls' typing class and a boys' typing class because you never know what might happen in typing class.
Yeah.
When I came to school here, we really only used the stage for Christmas concerts. We would be lined up on our benches here. Mrs. Ward was, I believe, our grade 4 teacher, and she would always be encouraging us to smile while we were singing. And yeah, we only used that for Christmas concerts. For the gym, though, we had extracurricular sports. So we had a volleyball team, a basketball team, and we did some. Oh my gosh! When I was in junior high, the division got gymnastics equipment. And so every school got to use the gymnastics equipment for a short time. And it was mayhem. Mr. Houston was our gym teacher. And again, he would just leave the class and I remember Michael McCormick bouncing on that trampoline and touching the ceiling. Like that was the big goal, was to jump hard enough. So he'd have to get a few guys to jump the trampoline with him. And he would bounce to the ceiling. It was mayhem. We also, when I think I maybe was in grade 5 or 6, there was this traveling roller skating guy. And he came with this van full of roller skates and taught us to roller skate for like, it was maybe a month. And then, so every day for our gym class, we strapped on these roller skates and he taught us to roller skate in the gym. And then we had a roller night and yeah.
That's super
I don't know where that
fun.
guy came from or where he ended up, but yeah, roller skating was big. Then we got to go on a field trip to the roller, what was it called in Lloydminster?
Roller derby?
No, it wasn't roller derby, but yeah, it was a big roller skating place you could go in.
How fun.
It was fun.
And this is where Francis Garnier graduated in 1965.
Aw.
Hi, Robert, Sharon, and all the rest of you that I can't remember right now.
That's so great. So great.
Yeah.
Yes, now that you say that, our prom was always, this was a big feature for our prom as well. Yeah.
We used to have some really nice orange curtains instead of these nice blue
Yes.
ones. These ugly blue ones. Gross one. You guys used to grab them and swing off them. Run from there and swing off the curtain and swing out over the floor. So for some reason they had to be replaced. I remember being in here, there was, in my times kicked out of class, you'd venture up this way a little bit, but we'd go underneath the stage here, there's those compartments for the chairs and whatnot, you could get behind them and crawl through the whole structure up here. And there's actually a bed, like probably right under Vic, maybe a little ways back, but there's a mattress and a pillow. And we used to say that that's where Robert Stashniak slept because he lived here. But there's probably still there. I don't imagine anybody crawling under to get the old mattress out from under there.
Well, even when I went to school, the boys used to go underneath there.
Yeah, under the stage was a hot spot when I was in junior high too. And I'm proud to say I never went under the stage. Some of my classmates did.
And I think I'm in the Guinness Book of Records for being an entire basketball season without scoring 1 point. The next year we were allowed to have cheerleaders. So I thought, okay. And with the nuns, we thought, oh, how are we going to do this cheerleading outfit thingy? So they had to be yellow and gold and blue, like our school colors. So we had each bought ourselves a yellow, of course, high cut t-shirty kind of thing. So when the skirts came, they came to about here. Well, we thought, and they were nice box pleats so that it was blue on the outside, and when the pleats spread, it was yellow. And they were beautiful.
How pretty.
We thought, how are we going to get this past the nuns? But we did. They let us wear it. And so when Dewberry would come, we would, cheer, bad things about Dewberry. Of course, they cheer back bad things about us, and yay team. I was a better cheerleader than a player, let's say.
So we're up in the storage room in the gymnasium, just above the stage. A little bit of a background, iconic spot, I guess, for a lot of people. Here's the attic access for up over the gym, and that was another one. If you're kicked out of class or between class, you could sneak up here, pop the hatch off, and climb up in the attic. And there was actually a time capsule we found in the far corner of the place, just kind of full of a bunch of random junk from the early 90s, but kind of an amazing little find there, and definitely an iconic one. Janice was saying she just found out that was actually a thing for the kids, and her boys were into it too, so sort of a funny passed down little tradition for the troublemakers.
Okay, so on the last day that we had junior high in our school, we noticed that the junior high boys were missing, and Tracy was actually on supervision. And she came in here and she could hear some running above the gym. And then later we found the boys, 6 junior high boys, and they were covered in what looked like a mouse nest. And so we realized Lois keeps this room immaculate as the rest of the school. And so we realized that they had in fact been up in the attic. So we had the 6 boys, and I'll say Chance, Cody, Kent, Keegan, Caden Bardole, Logan Garnier, and we had them in a classroom disciplining them. And they all got a suspension out of it and had to end up writing their final exams. So they were very fired up mad about that. And they said to the 4 women teachers who were giving them heck and telling them how they could have fallen through the ceiling onto the gym floor and killed themselves. One of the boys looked at Tracy Snyder and said, "You don't think your kids have been up here?" To which that was the very first time after working here for 15 or 14 years that we knew this was a thing. So this has been screwed shut for years, and it was only this fall, so it's been shut for 5 years, it was only this fall that an insurance adjuster told me, in fact, it's not screwed shut, and here's the last 2 little monkeys who've been up in the attic. And once again, it's a teacher's kid. Kai Jackson and Rylan Garnier had to be the last ones, and so they signed their name and threw a little note up into the attic. So it's been a thing for years and years, for generations, and we only just learned of it about 6 years ago.
Further up was grade 9 room. Oh, maybe 7 and 8, grade 7 and 8.
When I came to school here, this was the audio visual room, so it was a big deal if you got to come up here.
I said, I think I went to school in here in grade 7, 8, maybe, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Because the teacher's desk would have been right there, and I sat right about there.
Aww.
Or stood beside my desk, it could have been. You couldn't know.
I stood in the corner, huh?
We're math class anyway.
Yeah, and this is an AV room, and then I think we also did religion class up here with Mrs. DeFord when I was in junior high. We did religion. And what about you, Finn?
Now it's the science lab, so if you have we come up here and you can paint stuff. When we did when we were learning about electrons, batteries, and all generators and all that, we came up here.
When we were here, I remember Colin Edlund had that golden lab dog, Doc, and he was kind of the school mascot at that time. He'd come into school and roam around, and we were doing music class in here, and he just came in and spent the class. And he just, big old dog, come in the door and just laid down, gets his pets from everybody, and then he'd hang out for the class and then get kicked out at recess time. But it was a big old pet day for the whole school. I remember that big dog.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And then when the school burned, they remodeled this end of the school, and this became the science lab.
Yes.
And I always thought it was such a beautiful, underused room.
It is beautiful. Just this year we had so we have blinds on only half of the windows because the other ones were bulletin boards, which it does get very hot and very, very bright in here some days. But we were having trouble with one of the windows breaking twice. So when they were repairing it, we asked them to take off the bulletin boards because we do like the natural light. So.
For sure. Good.
This was our grade 8 and 9 room, I guess mostly 9, and my locker was over here. And then up over here was the stairs up to the high school. So that's where the high school was, and this was still junior high down here. And across the way was the chemistry lab.
Yes.
Back then, and that's now the senior center. And the boys had lockers along here. Of course, we didn't have trophies and stuff back then that I remember anyway.
There's maybe that one right by your head. There's a couple.
Well, that's an oldie boy. This little one here too.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
We had, a few years ago, we moved all the trophies down to this end of the school in this big trophy cabinet because we no longer had a junior high. And we realized not one of these trophies would ever mean anything to our elementary students. And so we moved them up to this really beautiful display cabinet. And
back in the 80s, the junior high boys and girls had the best volleyball teams in the county. They used to win the county trophies when they'd go. But yeah, this was the grade 9 room.
yeah.
That was the first year that I took French. The whole class took French, and our teachers spoke very little French, but we were really good at oral French. And not oral French, I mean written French. So when we had our grade 9 departmentals, the Department of Education sent out, we had to speak French. They sent out like a tape recorder, and they would have something in French, and we would have to speak it back, Well, we all failed the oral French. We were all surprised that there was any oral French exam to start with, and we aced the written, so we kind of
I was
50-50'd it, and we all did pretty good. But back then, your grade 9 departmental exam counted for your entire mark. Yeah, that was your 100%.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
It didn't matter what you did. Well, you had to kind of,
Learn the content
learn
as you
the
went.
content, but yeah, 100% of your mark was whatever that departmental was.
Wow.
Wow. And so was that the same for high school?
Uh-huh. When I took high school, we wrote departmentals, and yeah,
And that was the whole grade. Wow.
I think so.
It was 50%, I think, when I graduated. Okay, when I came to school, this wasn't the grade 9. Did you say grade 9?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Grade
grade
8 and 9.
This was the typing room when I came to school. And so there were tables here, and we took typing and had to clunk away at our keys. We didn't even have electric typewriters. We had to like jam our fingers into those hard keys. And I always wondered what good that would do me. But yeah, now I'm using my keyboarding skills. Yes, well, let's go in.
There was another row there.
That was your desk? Did you have rows of desks?
Yeah, rows
Yeah.
this way, yeah.
Okay.
I sat about here.
I think when it was-
just middle ground, so you weren't the best, didn't get called on too often.
Yeah, safe place.
Try to be looking at everybody when something was up.
Was this your last classroom, Dad? Did you go to school in this
I don't
classroom?
think so. I
No.
think that one there.
You were done?
And you can't be sure there was quite a lot of light, because
Right.
I
it's been changed
remember-
around since.
I remember one of the Joe Leslie was on this side, and he was a grade ahead of me, so I must have been in grade 8 and then in grade 9, both in here.
Yeah, Joe used to sit close to that, so maybe I was in there.
Yeah, because if you're taller, you got the back, and unless you were bad, then you got moved to the front, and yeah. So, yeah, a lot of memories in here.
For sure. So then in 2003, did we decide? 2002?
May of 2002.
When the school burned, it burned partway into this room, and that's where the fire stopped. So everything on this side is fairly original with some upgrades for smoke and water damage, and this end has been quite renovated. This room was probably the one that stayed the most the same, just being a rectangular classroom, but the purpose changed. When I started working here, instead of being a typing room, there were computers all along the outside, and the kids would come up here for computer class. And so maybe John can speak to that time more.
That's all I remember in here, just, yeah, computers lined right around, and we'd come up here and practice typing, and maybe little computer programs and stuff. But I don't remember much about it, just that there was, yeah, a computer room.
Oh, now that you say computers though, that does remind me, we got 4 computers when I was in junior high, and they were the Apple IIe, that's why I said that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got to do some coding, but our coding was like, I just remember it was like Alt, left, 1, we had this little turtle and we made the turtle go in a square, and that was like a year worth of lessons to make this turtle go in a square. And that was our big computer experience.
Yeah.
So you can speak to what it has been in your time here. It's probably changed the most during your time.
And now, when I first got here, we did Genius Hour, and I chose to sew a quilt. And then this is the sewing room. There's like each spot there was a sewing machine. We did sewing this year. And yeah. And then these are the chairs that I was talking about in kindergarten. Those are the 4 chairs.
And what happened to those 4 chairs? What?
Those are the timeout chairs. Because when Aiden put glue on the desk and somehow we didn't get in trouble. Or we got in trouble. Lauren, Harper, Olivia, and I were all sat. There's 4 of us in the 4 chairs.
And not the guy who did it.
No, not the guy who did it either.
Oh,
You must have egged him on.
us teachers get it wrong.
So what grade were you in when you sewed the quilt?
Grade 1.
Yeah, grade 1 sewing a quilt. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
I know that they had a lot of other options as well. Besides, what were some of the other projects kids did?
There was woodworking, like outdoors.
For Genius Hour specifically, do you mean?
Right.
Yeah, lots of cooking, coding,
Coding.
yeah, research papers. Colt built a chicken coop.
There was a lot of equipment to work with. Like I remember the school had like quite nice cameras for the students to
Yes, we
use.
do.
A lot of woodworking equipment, which most elementary kids aren't doing those things. So
Yeah.
it was a really great thing that
True.
the kids were able to do here. We also have preschool programs, and I believe this was the space they used. So 2 different groups, Brighter Beginnings out of Vermilion and Midwest Family Connections, I believe out of Lloydminster,
Yes.
would come and do a preschool program, and they brought in most of their own things and would host the local preschool kids for programs.
And the desk right behind you is our family school liaison worker, is what it used to be called, and now it's called a social emotional coach, an employee of Buffalo Trail. So a once a week counseling that kids are able to access if they have any kind of need at school or at home. So this is her office as well.
I volunteered with the quilting. Maybe you were
Yeah.
still in grade 1. They were making placemats one day.
We
And,
yeah.
we were having results with it, and one little girl was making one, and she was going to give it to her dad for his birthday, and I thought, oh boy, isn't he going to be happy?
Yeah.
But I bet he was. It
Yeah.
was quite a, yeah.
It was.
They enjoyed that.
It was our grade 6 to 9 group, and then with our younger ones as well. We had yourself and Jana Matiaschek and Cheryl Narot and Wendy Wilson came in. I hate to name in case I've forgotten anyone, but lots of really great community volunteer help with that big project
Yeah,
for me.
we've always been very lucky to have a good community connection with everybody coming in and offering their talents and time too. So yeah,
true.
we're really fortunate here.
Okay, back when I was in high school, this was the chemistry lab, or the science room, I guess, because we used it both for biology and chemistry. And we had tables with stations you had your Bunsen burner, and we were quite modern back then, and chemicals, and we didn't get into nothing too complicated, and we had the faucets up over the sinks that, came down like a gooseneck kind of thing. And we did our dissecting here of all the old alcohol preserved frogs and different things. We were really lucky if someone had butchered and one of the kids would bring in a heart or a lung or something from a pig. And I wasn't into that much, eh? But there'd be kids keeling over they didn't like that. So if you were in a group with 3, well, you'd get the brave one to do the cutting and stuff, and they would tell you all the living details about what was going on, and I'd just kind of stand back and take notes. And now it's the seniors center, or was until COVID hit, and we haven't been able to come in here, but we've had many a good card game and visit and potluck dinners and interacting with the kids in the school. It's been really nice.
Tracy, will you talk about the kids and the seniors and our hot ladies?
For sure, yeah. Yeah, so when I went to school here, this was still a science lab, and I guess we were less modern than we thought we were because Francis had the updated version. We probably still had the same pickled pigs in the back cupboard and whatnot, or there was a shelf of things that you just couldn't recognize anymore, but they were interesting and very sciencey looking. I just think of what it would be like to be a teacher and have a kid bring in like a lung or something. That's so exciting. I think that's so cool. Yeah, we never got to dissect anything. I think one time our teacher picked up chicken wings at the grocery store and we got to dissect these chicken wings. So yeah, we didn't get the good stuff.
We had the frog with the pigs in his leg. Oh.
Yeah, we didn't have anything like that. And we misbehaved quite a lot in the lab, so maybe that's why we didn't get to come up here very often. Once there was a fire, once the fire happened, the end of the school was destroyed, and the senior group, the local senior citizens, had their club up there. And so then they got this room. This room was renovated, and obviously all the sciencey things were taken out. And this was rented from them as a meeting space. And so it's really great that they've been in the school because they've really been able to engage with the students, and they do so many things. The first thing that I can remember, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there was something before this, but they started offering a hot lunch to our students once a month. And even once our hot lunch program evolved to become a once a week thing, the seniors still did their once a month, and it was always the kids' favorite. It was always the same menu, and I think if they dared change the menu, the kids might have revolted because you could smell it, like beginning at first recess, you could smell the frying onions, and everybody would start drooling for it. It was always ham and pierogies and vegetables, because that was all obligatory. I don't think anybody actually ate them though. But there was a juice and always a dessert. It was very much a grandma lunch that definitely touched the kids' hearts. And I'm saying the kids loved it, but the staff loved it too. Like when I would come in and smell, I'd say like, you should be able to bottle Clandonald School smell because like people would pay for this. It's the best day of the year. In fact, once the kids would leave, the grade 12s would always come back for the last hot lunch of the year, and they would come back and have hot lunch with us, and that was always pretty special too. Then they expanded and they started offering a kids club, a senior kids club. And so that was an after school program, and actually I'm not sure how often it was.
It was every Tuesday for the first couple of years, and then it was every second Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah. And so because of COVID, they had to end that program, and yeah, I think that was really disappointing for the seniors because they really loved getting to know the kids a little bit better and just interacting with them and keeping their club active.
Finley, did you want to tell a story about pierogies? Because you just looked at me like you wanted to say something.
One day, we were going for pierogies, and then she was like, "I'll beat you there," and then we all start running, and then she just like sticks her arms out like this so no one can get past her. And she's like, the next day, she's like, "I wasn't running."
And again, Finley was in trouble because of somebody else.
Mrs. J really likes pierogies.
Yeah.
You can look out these windows because this was here, right? And of course, us Catholic girls, then the boys, it was a hot day and they took their shirts off. So we're having a peek, One of the nuns says, "You girls better quit looking out there. You're going to end up marrying one of those bozos." She goes. And we at the time thought, okay, well, I'll take that one. Oh my gosh, I would love to know who those guys were.
Oh yeah.
I know who some of them were. They're old men now.
So I hope you enjoyed our little tour of Clandonald School. Thank you all for joining us. We had a good time sharing our own memories of our time here, and it's unfortunate that there won't be more to come, but if these walls could talk,